Have you been looking for a way to stay focused on your goals and grow your MSP? Accountability groups from RocketMSP can help. We offer weekly accountability sessions that meet online with a group of your peers. Your success begins with accountability. Go to www.rocketmsp.io to join your accountability group today. So we've talked about systems and processes, and Shiva does have a question here about that. How and where are you keeping your processes? Is there a platform for the repo?
What's the one? I never got too much into it. What's the main? It's not
IT Glue.
IT Glue, yeah. So that's a good one just from its various integrations, but it's a lot of work. I think it's a great platform. Before we got introduced to IT Glue, I was a fan of doing everything in SharePoint in the form of wikis because it's easily updated, very easily manageable. Certainly, it doesn't have those integrations, which is automatically porting some of the stuff in from the RMM and other things like IT Glue did. But from a sake of documentation, you can do a lot in SharePoint to make things more accessible and easy. And you can, as you really grow and scale, you can put in approval. So you can automate kind of getting documents updated, getting your documentation updated with various approvals and getting comments from folks. So where it might maybe a lot of your tactical stuff, like within your help desk and knock or whatever, might be in wikis, and that's oversaw by the respective managers. Maybe more of your business policies are in Word docs that get published as PDFs or whatever, but in the back end, the leadership team is commenting and approving changes and things like that without having to sit down in a 2-hour meeting about it. You could be doing it remotely through an approval process through SharePoint. That's my preference. I mean, look, again, having a process and commitment to documentation, it doesn't always matter where you're putting it. It just matters really what your system looks like and what's going to serve you. I mean, what are you solving for, right? Don't run out and buy IT Glue because IT Glue exists. What's the problem you're trying to solve for, right? And that's where you really got to start, or else you're going to, IT Glue takes a ton to set up. And if it's going to solve a major problem that you know is a real problem, yes, go make that time investment, that financial investment to get it done. But don't just run out and buy IT Glue just because it exists, and create that project for you. That could have maybe been solved another way.
I agree completely. I've found that as long as you have processes in place, it doesn't matter if you're storing things in OneDrive, maybe not passwords, but like the rest of the documentation, just so that way you kind of know where everything is. And then, for if you're going to make like a template with a bunch of tables on it, in the password field, just put it's in LastPass or whatever you use, right? Like the tools don't matter as much as you doing the thing. As long as your people can access it, it doesn't matter if you're just making 1,000 Word documents.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's you've got things to consider, efficiencies and all that stuff. But again, I just preach, start with the question, what are we solving for? What is the problem we're solving for? If you start there, that'll paint the picture of where you need to go.
So that was I would think a degree of immutability and not having multiple versions floating around is a necessity. Absolutely. When picking your solution or figuring out how you're going to store documents or whatever, like, yes, make sure that you're doing things in a way that you're not duplicating files and keeping multiple versions of the same thing, or letting techs put a copy on their computer that they just use that one and never see the changes that get made or whatever, right? Like you have to put some serious thought and effort into all the little pieces about that. But
what I liked about SharePoint, just in its simplicity, one, you're already in it, right? Everyone's already in 365, so you don't need to create another system of passwords and things like that if there's not a way to integrate the single sign-on stuff. But but SharePoint does that natively, right? For all things, right?
Mhm.
It keeps a version history of those documents. And that's, again, my original preference before you got into these crazy document management systems that are available today. Why I started with SharePoint and wikis is because that's not easily downloadable like a document is. So the tactical stuff, again, especially like, new system setup checklists and things like that. I would always source that stuff in wikis and things like that were more online rather than in a document. And that was a part of making sure everyone knew, like, get the, where to source your information from, so you weren't acting on old info.
And I think, we could sit here and talk just about documentation for hours, I'm certain. I think the most important thing is the way you do everything in your business, including documentation, is going to be different at the different stages you are in the business. When it's just you, it doesn't matter if you're writing things down in Notepad, right? If you've got just a few employees, one note might be fine,
Yeah.
and then at some point you're going to have to be able to um, control access and make sure people can't just like download a copy, quit, and then go go after all of your clients. Or obviously there's a lot of things to think about with every single thing that we're doing as business owners. And obviously one of the most important things we should always be thinking about is mitigating risk.
Yeah.
So, yeah, systems and processes. We talked about people. We even talked about some leadership stuff. Let's talk about automation. So, once you've got your systems, your processes, you now need to automate as much of that as you can. So, you didn't even have employees. You just had like 100 instances of ConnectWise and LabTech, and it was all just doing everything for you, right?
Yeah, that's right. I don't know why I ever retired. It was that easy.
So so what so what did it look like for you guys when you started to automate your processes?
Yeah, the thing about automation is you got to have the talent and the time to do it. So similarly to the point about getting someone to document the processes, right? Often, if you're counting on your help desk techs or your busy best project engineers to write this automation, it's probably never going to happen because the client needs are always going to win, right? So I think establishing a plan of resources that are one, what are we automating? What are we solving for? But two, who's going to do it, right? And when are they going to do it? And getting serious about that, because I think that's one of those things where, the cobbler's kids never get the shoes, where, you never automate it because you never have the time. And that's because you never sat down and got a serious plan of what resources, you were going to do that. And the best way to do that is take it small, like take it one. You're not going to get them all done at once, but what's the most impactful, achievable one, and weight them in that regard, right? So what things can we automate? What problems do we have that we can automate, and which one will bring the most impact to our efficiency the minute it's done, and focus on that and get it as its own project and get it done. So, and that may be, right, that's various things, and whether it's in your PSA or different trigger rules and things like that you're going to put in the RMM. But I think the places that you start may be where you've got high volume coming in. I think the alerting systems, obviously, if you've got whatever, a consistent trigger, and you're getting 100 events and you're still manually having to do something for this routine 100 events that are coming in. That's a big win, right? You're going to knock out 100 tickets a week by writing a script that auto restarts whatever service or whatever when this triggers, whatever your knock techs or whatever have been doing when this is happening. That's the problem you're solving for, right? What automated tickets are we getting, and how can we automate against them the resolutions for them so we can shrink that? That's where I've always found the most value.
So I just want to make sure we're clear that for you, maybe a way to automate password resets might have been the most impactful thing, because maybe it was because your company's like so big, and now the most tickets you're getting are not RMM alerts. Maybe it's just everyone forgot their password,
Sure.
whatever, right? And for me, maybe it's I've got a client who everyone hates the boss because he's an a-hole, so they have a lot of turnover. So I'm constantly having to set up new users and re-image machines, and maybe it's going to save me a lot of time every month if I find a way to press a button in my RMM tool and have it just do all of that.
Yeah. And look, in automate, what is automation, right? It's not having to manually execute these things. So yeah, you nailed it, right? So turning on, making it so you get a new client and you get in, you realize that their 365 isn't set up for, user self-service on passwords, right? That should be a part of your SOP, right? So that being a part of your onboarding process, you're automating away, right? You didn't write a script, but you did automate away a problem that previous provider had, right? That user base is always calling, I can't get into 365. I locked myself out. I forgot my password, right? But if you, as part of your SOP, your onboarding was to make sure that self-service password reset and two-factor MFA were implemented as a part of your standard, well, you just solved two major problems that we're up against today as a help desk, which is, password resets and getting your account spoofed because you gave your password up to that, to Microsoft, who emailed you and said that you got to log in and fix your password, right? I mean, how many times does that happen? But that's just a checkbox, right? But if you standardize on these things, that too is another form of automation. So I would say, like, hey, I get it, right? We can write PowerShell scripts and all that stuff all day long, or you can enable workflows in various systems. Those are automations, but there's also having a sound standard that also prevents this ticket creep as well, that you could be thinking about and making them part of your core processes to keep this noise out as well.
So since we're talking about automation, I know a guy who is constantly evaluating tools, and it's not me. He's constantly evaluating tools. He might like get a couple months ago Rocket Cyber, and then they got bought out by Kaseya, so now he's removing Rocket Cyber, and now he's got this new thing, and then oh look, shiny new object over there. But at the same time, he's doing 1 point something million a year. So what would you say to that CEO who constantly is evaluating all of these tools, and then maybe even just almost it feels like blindly implementing them to clients before really thinking about this type of stuff?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to my motto. Well, I'm going to go to one of your things. We talked about being busy versus being productive, right? So what are you running from? Keeping yourself busy with these things. Is there something that we're avoiding and we're keeping ourselves busy with other things rather than be productive? But aside from that, what are we solving for? Why are we changing the PSA again? Why are we changing RMM again? Like, what's the problem, right? If there's problems, let's talk about them and rate them as far as impact. And is changing the RMM or PSA, whichever, is that the solution, right? Or is there automation? Like, we have a problem with X in there, okay? Because this is what I know about swapping systems. It doesn't matter what the tools are. It matters what your processes are, right? We've hit on that. Sometimes you trade the bad for bads in the other one, right? You might have a PSA that does 8 out of 10 things great, and the other PSA might do those other 2 things great, but it does 4 other things bad that the first one did great. So you could switch over to, you got to be, you got to see the forest for the trees here a little bit here. You can't just chase those shiny objects. You're just going to chase your tail. You're never going to get productive things done. So I would say to that CEO, hey, if you want to, grow beyond this $2 million mark, well, let's let's start norming and performing rather than reinventing the wheel every 6 months to a year with a new PSA and hitting the reset button and starting over. Now we got to have new processes, and we got to get the team acclimated, and we've got to migrate all the data over. Geez, like how that would drive me bananas. I would.
It would drive me, but it drives me bananas just hearing about it.
Yeah,
So I can only imagine what the team feels like.
it's a lot,
So,
a lot of needless stress. Like I said, unless there's a why, there on what are we solving
and
for.
I mean, I understand why this person does it because they are very focused on like security, and they just are trying to figure out the best way to provide the best security. So I get it. It's not like they're changing out RMMs or PSAs. They're swapping out security platforms once they realize there's something out there that does a better job. And I don't think there's something wrong with that per se, but but maybe don't be so quick to adopt new technology might be
Yeah,
my response to that. And similarly, sometimes like let's just take Augment. I have not actually used Augment. Shameless plug. Wednesday next week, I'm meeting with Derek
oh, sweet.
Belair from Augment, and we're gonna do a little thing on Augment. So come watch that next week. So I haven't used it. I don't know what it can and can't do, but let's just pretend it basically helps you do all the administration on all of your client Office 365s whenever you need to, all at once maybe. So you don't know if you need Augment unless you can weigh the cost of purchasing Augment versus the cost of what you are paying your employees, your staff, to go and do this stuff normally.
Yeah.
And then you have to figure out how much time is it going to save me by switching to Augment.
Right. And that's an automation question, right? Like, hey, right now the team we're having to manage all these accesses to our clients, 365 administration portals, right? So there's a security concern there. I equate this conversation. That's why earlier I mentioned it as an evolution, because it is the equivalent of where I was when I was using enterprise tools disintegrated, to manage AV and alerting and all these different disjoint systems. So I was hopping in all of them, and then the RMM came and brought all that together. Something like this conversation around something like a product like Augment, right? That's what that would solve for, right? So instead of having to maintain all these different accesses to these different cloud platforms and having to manually do these administration in these cloud platforms, now there's a tool that can consolidate all that into a single pane of glass, which now makes us more efficient. So you're right. You've got a cost benefit analysis that, hey, yeah, there's an inefficiency here, and we need to weigh that against other problems, right? Again, let's prioritize our problems here. But if that's a problem or there's an opportunity to get some gains, that's what a tool like that would be for, right? And so I think, but yeah, what are you solving for? So you've got to be capable of understanding, the problem at hand, and is that a problem, right? All of our clients are on 365. How are we managing that, right? Well, this is where we keep all the passwords, and this is what, and you know what I mean? It's just, so yeah, I think it's something to consider.
And on the flip side, if you're just one guy, you're still growing this thing, it's still a baby company, you don't need, I mean, you want, but you don't need this Microsoft 365 management platform, because the only thing you're doing is taking money out of your pocket. The more toys you buy, the less you can pay yourself and the less that you can put back into the business. So that's the other thing, is you need to be really careful when it comes to your money, because sure, okay, great, you can write it off, but when I read this book here, sorry about the shakiness. This book here, Simple Numbers, Straight Talk, Big Profits. I'm just going to simplify this very much. the less you pay in taxes, the less money you're making.
Yeah.
So if you're able to write off so much that you're getting a refund, or you're just, you owe nothing, I think you need to reevaluate why you're running a business, because especially if it's been like years and years and years that it's like this, maybe it's time to start doing something different, because it sounds like it would be the definition of insanity.
Yeah, but at the same time, the other perspective on this is when you're bringing more value as an MSP by having that tool in your arsenal, right? That you should be charging more, right? So you shouldn't just be burdening these costs of these tools. If you're increasing your value proposition as a provider, you should be increasing your costs, right? You should be promoting those things. You should be subsidizing your expense. You shouldn't just be pulling these additional expenses in, without getting compensated for it. Now again, you may be compensated for saving on the opportunity cost of your inefficiencies, right? You may be saving there. That may be where your gain is. But certainly if you're bringing in a tool that's bringing in value to your clients, right? Like, so what MSPs are out there, that are just bringing in, cyber tools, and not charging for them. They're saying, hey, I just added a EDR system. Don't worry about it. We're going to eat the cost. We're not doing that, right? We're going back to the clients and going, hey, I have this product. It's an add-on, right? And this is the benefit that it's going to bring you, and you will be able to figure out where your licensing is and where you're bleeding, and licenses that are unused, or understanding where your users are in these systems, blah, 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 whatever. Right? There's a value proposition for the clients too, that you can go upcharge for these things and so on. I mean, I can tell you, SaaS management's a problem, so it's not just a problem for MSPs, but it's a problem for our clients. And if we're solving that problem, it's well within our right, and the clients will gladly pay for it.
You said something, I had a response, and I completely lost it. And it wasn't a joke response.
How's your cat, by the way?
She stopped.
She's still breathing?
And she may still be breathing. She's sunning in the window.
Yeah,
she's fine.
Yeah.
I think she's breathing. Oh, boy. So you said... Gosh. I lost it, man. Oh, how frustrating. So we're talking about the automation and the technology that we're investing in, and you mentioned a thing, and I was going to say a thing, so we'll pretend that happened, and it was very insightful, and everyone loved it.
Good job.
So, yeah, so the last couple of things that I think are important to talk about when it comes to scale is focus and vision. Which one comes first?
Vision. If you don't have vision on where if you can't see your target, you don't know what to aim at, right? So you've got to establish the vision that you're striving for, and then you bring in focus. And I would say no more than 90-day out projects to take you towards that, right? There's a great analogy I like to talk about. It's like, say there's $1 million, you're on one island, and across the bay there's $1 million island, and you've got to build a means to get there. You've got the resources. Well, you don't want to start building a bridge and then you stop, and then you start building a different bridge, and then you stop, and you build a different bridge, and you stop. You never get to $1 million island, right? You got to get focused on building one bridge and take you to that other side. And the same goes with, your projects and being productive, right? You've got to prioritize 1 to 3 projects at a time, as far as growing your business and what you're focused on and improving it. Like, you don't need to do everything at once. Some of these projects will still be there later, and focus on the things that are bringing the most value, most impact that you can get done over the next 30, 60, 90 days, and then rinse and repeat. What are the next 3 projects that bring the most value over the next 30, 60, 90 days? And go from there. So vision and then focus.
So, how do we come up with the vision? What is the right vision? You know what I mean?
What's the right vision?
Yeah.
Whatever you want. I mean,
No.
what's the right vision? Look, if you want help with that, great book, The Vivid Vision, short read. But listen, how do you come up with vision? You sit down and you just write out. Look, in clarity, I have 3 tenets with Lion's Guide, which is establish clarity, have courage, and lead. And this is where clarity comes in, is that you got to sit down, you've got to make time and sit down and write out how you would have things. How do you want to see things? What do you want to see? Okay, I'm a $1.7 million MSP that you mentioned earlier. What do I want to be? What do I want? Is that good enough? I'm 1.7, but I'm bringing home $400,000 a year. Do I want more? Well, what is more? Do I want why do I want more? Right. So you really got to sit down and challenge your thinking on what do you want, why, and then where are you at? And this is the way I'd like to tackle just even tech projects, which is, okay, where are we going? Where are we at? How are we going to get there? Right. And I think as far as establishing vision and look, I can't tell anyone what their vision is, but I can tell them you need to have time where you sit down and you have thought development time, and you do need to paint a picture of your vision. But it's got to start with what brings you joy in life. How do you get more of that? What doesn't bring you joy in life, and how do you reduce and eliminate that? And then you can bring some tangible metrics to that in comparing to where you are now. I don't make enough money now. Okay, what would be enough money? Well, the minute you have that answer, now you've got a target, right? Now you've got that target to aim at, and you start reverse engineering that, right? So once you and you got to think, no one's going to give you these answers, right? That they're yours. It's your vision. That's why I paused. I thought there's more to the question, right? Like I can't tell you what your vision is, but I can tell you it's only yours, and there's no wrong answer. And you can make it happen. You just put in the work. It's I know it sounds pie in the sky and whatever, but yes, you can have what you want, and you're going to work to get it. If you're willing to do that, you'll get there. And don't be afraid to make adjustments along the way, because each step you take, your vision gets more clear. So you're not going to get it right the first time. You're going to sit down and put all this stuff together. Yes, it's enough to get you directionally accurate to where you want to go. And then as you start progressing, revisit it. I thought I wanted this, but now I want more. I thought I wanted this, but I actually didn't like that aspect, and I actually don't want that anymore. So, not to say you always got to have a moving target and have these wild swings, but starting with something gets you directionally accurate. And as you progress, right, it'll bring more clarity and refinement in that. So, I don't know. Does that answer your question?
I think so. So now I'm going to give you a softball question. Which one's better, Autotask or ConnectWise?
Look, I used Autotask from 2006 to 2020. Why? Because the pain wasn't worth the change. ConnectWise could have been better. I wasn't seeing what was better enough to go through the pain of migrating a 200 employee company and, tens of thousands of systems under management just to say we were on ConnectWise. What are we solving for? Because I know, like I said earlier, we're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater in some aspects of what we're transitioning to. So which is better? Your business is better. Focus on your business, and they're both great tools, but jumping back and forth and which is better. I don't have an answer for that anymore. Just pick a tool and build your business, and that PSA is a tool in your business The PSA is not your business, right? So the more you build what your business is going to be, how you're going to serve your clients, you pick the tools that's going to serve that end, right? It may be Autotask because, originally for me, why I picked Autotask in 2006, by the way, is they were fully web-based, right? Well, I knew I had techs in the field. I wanted the mobile app. I did not want techs having to come back to the office to a client server based application so I could get their notes in. I wanted a web based one so they could tap into the client network and do stuff there. Ground zero, that's why I did it. Later, when I did diligence to say, hey, are we on the right platform? I found at the time, and I don't know where ConnectWise is today, and so go do your own due diligence. But at the time, I saw that still the real power and value of ConnectWise was in their client server application. Their web version was weak. Hey, we're sticking with Autotask. I'm not swinging to ConnectWise because it's a better tool on the client server than Autotask is web, because I need the web, right? I've got text geographically dispersed now all over the country, so now I'm going to switch to a client server app. Sure, I could cloud host it, but now I'm adding even more expense, so there's a lot of dynamics to it. And again, that's why for me, my answer is always going to be back to what's your business need, and find, evaluate the tools against that.
What is the biggest thing you wish you knew when you started your company?
The biggest thing I wish I knew when I started the company, a couple things. I think like client orientation. I'm trying to find my answer. I wrote on this before. Oh yeah, we've had. Sorry, this is the top of the questions make me think. I think recognizing that I own a business now, right? And a lot of guys. So we've talked about that a lot. I think that the importance of thing I wish I knew when I started. Certainly the value of MRR. And this should be table stakes today. But growing that MRR, that stickiness, I think hardware as a service is cloud services. Obviously, the more bundling you can do, the better. The more you can bring to your client, and kind of, again, for me, my background's enterprise IT management. So I had standards, right? I had a standard firewall. I had standard systems. It wasn't installing it at one location, Fortinet, and this location, a SonicWall, depending on who the branch manager, what they wanted, right? I had a standard. We had a standard. We had our enterprise standard. I think as a MSP, you should have a standard that answers to what your ideal client is, and bundle that stuff. And then take that bundle. Now you've got more MRR because you're more holistic. You're bringing a full package, and you as a result are more efficient. Because now you've got a standard that your team is trained against and operates against, and now your clients have a similar standard. And that's going to ebb and flow, right? Depending on your vertical, if you have one. I think specializing is an opportunity. A lot of my group, like starting today, if I wanted to really accelerate growth, I would pick a specialty and go after it, and I build a standard that solves the problems in that vertical. A lot of my growth was organic. It was me networking, finding problems, growing, and I think the first 10 plus, all the years of legacy Corsica before selling it. I had a wide diversity of different types of clients, and that was because my growth was organic. When people called, we want them. Call, we'll win. Call, we win. And if I were to go aggressive and start a new company, and if I wanted to get it to $5 million in the first 5 years, let's say, I would focus on a vertical that I know I could win at, and I would specialize there, and just go focus on that instead of trying to be able to paint a broad stroke across all markets. I would focus on a certain vertical.
So you have the advantage of being a former Marine. So that means it's very easy for you to stay focused. What would you say the top 3 things that you wasted time on would be?
So here, making hasty hires was definitely something that's a time suck. That mistake of just get me a warm body, to fill the spot or do whatever without, having that ideal hire in mind and having some standards around that. I think, I certainly made some mistakes there, and that's always a 2-step forward, 2-step back, right? You lose the time of finding them, you hastily hire them, you tolerate them, you made a bad hire, and now you're starting over. So I think like you said it best, slow to hire, quick to fire is a good mindset. On both sides of that, correcting for the bad hires, the quick to fire side. I think trying to please everyone, I would say, there is that, right? You're trying to keep everyone happy. You got employees, you got clients, and all that. But I think you gotta, maybe to the example I said earlier, like sometimes you're going to have a client that's going to want you to do business the way that suits them. And again, you got to stay true to what is best for your business. And if they're not a good fit for that, they're just not a good fit client, and you're just going to have trouble. And say likewise with the conversation maybe we had about the employees, right? Like if you've got a set standard, you want to hire employees that fit in your standard, fit in your culture, fit in your operation. So trying to please everyone, keep everyone happy, you're best served if go own it, right? Go own your thing. Don't move and make all these adjustments just to try to keep other people happy. And don't worry about failing. I think, it's basic human nature to, have this fear of failure, but at the same time, man, you got to really go after it, man. Be bold. Don't be afraid to fail. Like, get out there and try new things, and learn and grow. It's not win or lose. It's win or learn. So, learn from the experience. Go try the things that you want to try. Don't worry about failing. Don't worry about the judgment. Go take ownership of your operation and take it where you want it.
And what would you say the top 3 traits were that made you a successful entrepreneur?
Entrepreneur wise, I think leadership. Like I said, I came up in as a student of leadership since a private in the Marine Corps. So I hold that and I think the strongest leadership trait is setting the example. So if you want your people on time or technically proficient and all these things, like set an example for them to follow. You're not going to make it if it's the do as I say, not as I do mindset, right? Set the example for your people, be the best version of you that you can be. And that's where I'm at today with my coaching and advisory practice is, helping entrepreneurs, CEOs, whoever that are in these demanding roles, be the best version of them. And, that rising tide lifts all boats, right? So the better, you're performing, you're going to be an inspiration for those people around you. They're going to want to be better. So I think, and that's at its core of leadership. Being humble, I think is something else that it served me, that I don't think I know everything. I think, and that's okay, and that means I check my ego so I can go, okay, well, I don't know that, right? I don't know about that. Teach me, show me, where can I find the answers? I think there's this sometimes, a little bit too much ego in the room that no one wants to admit they don't know, and they posture and things like that. I don't know, tell me, what do I need to know? And then I go seek to know, and I trust in it and I verify, right? So if I'm getting answers to get a semblance of what I need to know, and then I'm going to take it further. I'm going to get my own information. That's back to seeking clarity, is finding the truth of the matter, getting educated. So, being humble to know that I only know what I know, even with, coaching and advising today. What worked for me might not work for everyone, right? I'm going to say that, right? I could be running around going, hey, here's the MSP formula for success. There's your formula, and does it work or does it not work? If it doesn't, what's not working? So let's find that solution, because what works for me at Corsica worked for me at Corsica at that time in that market with the people I had, right? So let's find out what works for you and your market, and so on. So being humble is I think key, and I think being patient as well is another thing. Be patient. You don't need to jump this, that, and the other. I think I guess another thing I see people do is they're always worried about what the competition's doing. Like, you'll chase your tail on that, man. People will see like, hey, this other MSP is doing this. So like, we don't know if that's working. We don't know why they're doing that. We don't know if it's serving, you know what I mean? Like, I never look, what you focus on expands. So if you focus on competition, you know what you're going to find? You're going to find more competition, and you're going to be chasing the competition. If you get focused on your clients and what your clients' needs are, they'll be chasing you, right? So, I think that's something that I never got caught up in. Like I say, early on as a Microsoft Gold partner, even vendors, like they push their agendas on you, right? Go with what your clients need, where you want to go. Don't be, pushed around, so to speak, by other agendas or what the competition's doing. Build your business.
We ran over, I just realized, because we're having such a great conversation. If you need to take a drink real quick while I talk, I totally understand.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can tell you've reached the end of the coating in your throat, and it's just angry now. So I have one last question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
With Lion's Guide, and it's like a multi-part question. That's how it's won.
All right.
Who is your target client for Lion's Guide?
Yeah, my clients are, like I said, people that are entrepreneurs or maybe in a demanding leadership role. So that might be a senior executive or a manager or just someone that's just got a lot of stuff they're up against. I've got clients that are business owners. I've got ones that are IT execs. Those are my one-on-one clients. I had other ones as well. But look, what I'm serving up is, leadership development, self-mastery, really through self-leadership. Again, if people say, what was your secret to success? I'd say I looked at my life as a whole, right? I didn't just go zero in only on Corsica. I zeroed in on my whole life, and Corsica was a major part of that. But I had to be able to perform at that level. So my focus is helping people be the next version of themselves, and they may already be in a very demanding role, or they may be striving to take themselves to the next level. So I work with them to take them there. I put out the lessons I've learned, and what's gotten me here, how I keep my sanity, how I have joy in life. That's what people ask me. Like, Dale, you run this company, you got 3 kids at home, you're running marathons, you do jujitsu, you run the local youth association. Like, how the hell you do it all? Still have this energy, still got a freaking smile on your face, and yes, there's ways to do that. And I go teach, coach, and advise on those things, the things I've learned.
So are your clients with Lion's Guide, are they all IT related?
No, I think that none. That's a lie. Yes, some, but there's diversity there. Like say, they're business owners, CEOs, managers, service business owners. So there's some diversity there because we all have those same problems. Like you could have this problem. Now you run a podcast and you could be like trying to keep up, right? Well, how do we narrow that in? How do we level you up? It's never going to get easier. New levels, new devils, man. It's people think like, oh, I'm going to build my business to $2 million and now it's going to be easy. I built my business way beyond that. And all it got was more challenging, right? It never got easier. So the only thing you can do is get better. And that's what I'm doing, right? I'm working with folks going, all right, hey, you're at the next level. You want to get to the next level. You've got to be better because it's not going to be easier, right? So I've got diversity there. In fact, even when I start with IT advisory clients, we actually go back to them because no matter what I can, impart my perspective and advice on their IT business, I got to get them up, right? I got to get them to where they can perform at this level and beyond before, we even can hope to get the most out of improving the IT operation.
So with with what you're doing today, is this like a package? Everyone just buys the one package. It's all the same price, or is it all customized? Is it hourly?
No, I've got various offerings. So in coaching, I do one-on-one coaching, group coaching. I have a membership that people can go in and get weekly training lessons that I put out. I've got online courses people can check out. The best thing people can do right now, and to keep up with everything, check out lionsguide.com. Find the various. I'm tapped into the various platforms. Best thing you do is sign up for the updates so you can keep in tune and see what I've got going on and what I'm releasing week to week. This week, and probably a little bit while my voice is going out, is I'm batching a podcast of my own, the Lions Guide podcast, where we're diving into this stuff. Not necessarily IT, but beyond that, right? And it's applicable to everyone, especially IT. Look, why I relate to IT. IT is it's a demanding role, man. It's just a lot coming at you, especially as you grow and scale, right? More clients, more problems, right? So you've got to, again, rise to that. So, one of the things I think that's really helped me is focusing on my performance and always getting better. Always getting better. It never got easier. And once I realized like I had to get better, that's when things really changed for me, where I started to have a lot more joy in my life, where I wasn't just, man, when's it going to end? When's it going to end? Man, it's not going to end. I got to get better. So lionsguide.com, you can subscribe there or look at the other, platforms I'm on all of them. Look for the podcast to come out in June. We've got a lot of recordings coming through. We've been batching a lot this week. So, but yeah, check it out. Like I say, coaching, online training, advisory, membership, all available.
Thanks so much for coming on here and doing this with me today, Dale. Really, I've learned a lot. I hope that all of the MSPs that are watching and listening have taken something away from this. The one thing that I think we just need to stress again is, sure, the tools that you use are important, but they don't define you. They don't define your company. And your processes and your culture and your vision. And these are the types of things that define you and your company. So the sooner you focus on that kind of stuff and stop worrying about Autotask versus ConnectWise or whatever else, right?
Yeah.
The sooner you are going to be able to build for scale.
Yes. Absolutely. Build your business. Otherwise, the tool's not going to make you. It's just going to become the next scapegoat, right? There's no one tool that's going to save you. It's you. You're going to save yourself, and you got to, find your way and put in the work to get there.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks so much. Take care, Dale. Take care, everybody else. And I'll see you all at the next podcast episode.
Thanks, Steve.
Have you been looking for a way to stay focused on your goals and grow your MSP? Accountability groups from RocketMSP can help. We offer weekly accountability sessions that meet online with a group of your peers. Your success begins with accountability. Go to www.rocketmsp.io to join your accountability group today.